I'm curious to kind of what now for you as a steward of BattleTech, what that, I guess, imperative, what the mantle has been that you've taken from the previous stewards, and what things that they have said, look, these are the things that define BattleTech, take this and move it forward, and what has been kind of the influence in terms of grounding that decision and saying, you know what, the Dark Age was kind of a hot mess, to a lot of players, but we're going to give it a big old bear hug and we're going to move, forward in the future with it and embrace what it is.
Yep.
So what has that been like, and what are kind of the thought behind that process? And
Well, I mean, a lot of science fiction, especially serial science fiction, military science fiction, is serial in nature, meaning you don't change the universe much. Listen, we often call it the Star Trek effect. At the end of the Star Trek episode, the universe will pretty much be exactly what it was when it started. It's episodic, but the episodes are new adventures, but you don't radically change the direction of the universe. It is just you reset. And because most people influence in this is like with things like Star Trek, Babylon 5, other things where it's very the universe can be very static. Star Trek Deep Space Nine being the epic story they told, where the universe did move forward after a while, where it did move forward radically. BattleTech's always been a dynamic universe. It's always been moving forward. It's always been changing. I don't know if that was by design necessarily, because the early years it was just what it was, and then all of a sudden, Fast did this unheard of thing. They did a 20-year time jump. And that was pretty early on. They just said, you know what, we're just going to jump 20 years down the road and start a whole new set of characters up. Mm-hmm. And that was unheard of at the time. Like, you were completely leaving behind all the plot lines you've been building. And then Mike Sackville said famously, it's not about losing your character. It's now about the story of your character's son or daughter. It's about your kids now. The kids of the original set, what are they doing? And so, and then we always been rolling forward since that moment. I believe it's been roughly BattleTech's moving forward roughly on a pace of about 2 in-universe years for every year of our time. Okay. So from 2023 to 2024, we would spend we would advance the timeline 2 years in game. We've done other jumps, after the Jihad, the Dark, thanks to because of the move from FASTA to FanPro to WizKids to whatever. There's been other jumps. Jordan reset in the Dark Age. He jumped forward, whatever it was, 30, 40 years and did the Dark Age. We then leapfrogged past him and sort of did took it from the Dark Age and blended it over into the Ilkon era to the new stories beyond Republic of the Sphere. So there's always been a need to move forward. But once you hit a good spot, we like to coast for a while. There's great stories. There's great characters. You don't want to leave them behind unless you just have to. And usually that's because there's some entanglement, like you mentioned, like the Jihad kind of got out of control because there was a lot of, no one knew what to do at that moment. There was a lot of uncertainty as to who was guiding BattleTech, where it was going. So the Jihad stretched out a lot longer than we ever meant it to. Didn't mean we just threw it away and said, nope, that's not what happened. We're going to redo this. We're going to retcon this whole period. We said, you know what? This is what we did. We live with it. We move forward.
Yeah.
And we, it's part of our history. That is what BattleTech does. We work with what we have in front of us, and if it doesn't work for us, we may leave it behind and not bring it back up again. But we really try not to disavow any big portion of our backstory, because there's someone that loved it. Someone loved the Jihad. Someone loved all the stories in Dark Age. Someone loved these characters, these storylines. Who are we to tell them that your storyline wasn't good enough for us? Okay, because even in our company, people in my company don't agree on what the best storylines or the best characters are. We're always arguing over them. Fortunately, I get the last word often, but not always. So yeah, we're always moving the universe forward, and that's always going to happen with BattleTech. That's just the legacy of FASA. FASA didn't want a static universe. They knew that right from the beginning, and so it never has been. And if I have anything to say about it, it never will be. The universe will always move forward. for better or for worse, it's going to move forward. So,
And I think the other thing that really helps BattleTech stand out in the gaming universe is there is a kind of inherent respect for the player in how you generate your products, in the sense of Games Workshop can be a contrast. A lot of people aren't happy because they have to kind of reinvest in Games Workshop periodically. For you guys, there's never been an issue, it seems, from the corporate side of players playing an old era versus a new era, old rules versus new rules, and things tend to build upon the past instead of replace the past. And it's not so much a question, more as kind of a comment and a kind of thank you from the fan community. The fact that you can play with a bottle cap with an arrow on it and enjoy BattleTech. And is I'm curious for you as a developer, how that influences kind of your decisions and what it is that you want to provide for players moving forward in terms of what that product line is.
yeah, I mean, we obviously have a product to sell.
Mm-hmm.
We're a company. We license the property from the owners. We're managing it for them. Our job is to make money on the product. That's the financial business side. If we don't do that, BattleTech dies. There will be no more stories. There will be no more game product.
Right.
Do we feel we should mandate how you play BattleTech? No. Like you brought up Games Workshop. They have their model, and it works for them. And they are like $1 billion, $2 billion, something. I think I've heard, a $2 billion company. Whatever. Obviously, it's worked for them as a business, and they make some great creative product. Whether or not how they interact with their fans or we interact with fans is better, worse, it's just different. It's a different philosophy. In the end, if Games Workshop didn't do what they did, there wouldn't be the amazing legacy of product and stories and stuff that they have made. They treat it differently than we do. We believe that fans will decide how they want to play. If they're not using our product, then we are doing something incorrect. If they decide they really play bottle caps with an arrow on it, then our latest plastic mech, we need to look at how we're doing our plastic mech. So obviously we did something that they said, nope, we don't want that.
Yeah.
If we're delivering a good product, a quality product for a fair price, our fans are with us the entire way. They are with us even when we destroy their faction, which is something that's happened occasionally. That's like the biggest thing we can't take back is when we killed the Smoke Jaguars when Comstar eventually fell, because it was just the blackout. The reality is the blackout would have killed any it did kill them. It took them a while to die, but that was it. That was kind of the end of them. And there's still pieces of them out there. We may play with them again someday. Nothing disappears forever in the BattleTech universe. There's always a remnant out there worth playing with, but we do take those very seriously because we don't want to take things away from our fan base in a permanent thing. You may never use that particular mech or that color scheme or that faction logo ever again. Yeah. It's not what we want to do. We may say, hey, the Jaguars, they went out with a bang, and if you still want to be a Smoke Jaguar fan, be so. We're not stopping. I'm a Smoke Jaguar fan. I love only because I love the logo. My favorite logo. That was my favorite.
That's
clan
why
logo.
I like Kurita. I like dragons, and I like Bred,
these guys are kind of jerks, but I love their logo. So
yeah, awesome.
I was kind of a fan of them from that point of view, but storyline, no, they had to go. But there's still pieces of them out there. We have brought them back in stories. The occasional Smoke Jaguar remnant, they're still there. Because nothing really ever disappears in this universe. I mean, even in our universe, I mean, we still have people that reenact, Civil War fights. We still have people that cosplay from World War I. It never disappears. It's part of our history. And so there's always someone willing to keep this stuff alive. And that's how we treat our factions and how we treat things in BattleTech as well. Our fans deserve to play and experience BattleTech the way they want to. And it's our job to give them the pieces and the stories and the material to play it the way they want to.
There's something that you said in there that really stood out to me, that I really liked. And when I mentioned the bottle caps with arrows on it, I was thinking just of people that were just in a crunch and didn't have their stuff and wanted to play with the rules. But what you said there was that, if they have bottle caps with arrows on them and they're not playing with plastic, then we're doing something wrong. And I really like that statement, kind of as, and I think it's a signifier of kind of philosophy of you guys as a company. For me, my own background, I've started and run a large nonprofit athletic program for rowing, and have hired and managed and developed and unfortunately terminated, a number of coaches. But one thing that kind of stood out to me as identifying the quality of those coaches is that, when a crew that they coach failed, if the coach said, "What did I do wrong?" I like that coach. If the coach was like, "This is what my athletes did wrong," that coach was going to be shown the door not too far in the future. And so I really like that mentality of you guys is saying, well, if they're not buying our new product, then what's wrong with our new product?
We have made some bad products.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. We've made some bad products, or some not as good as we could have products.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we set out to do that, just for whatever reason, it came out not the way we expected. And case in point, we did a run of plastic battle mechs a while ago. Came out under the Lance packs.
Yep.
They were not well received. They were the best we knew how to do at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We were working to get better, and we got a lot better. But we put out a product that was merely adequate, and our fans treated it as merely adequate product. And so we started doing the force pack line with we said, well, what do we need to do? Well, first we need to go back to the drawing board on the mechs. Update, without losing the BattleTech aesthetic, we need to update the mechs to modern, playable sensibility, good detail, poses. They need an update, they need refreshed. We went back to the drawing board and refreshed the mechs. Then we made sure the plastic, the molding technology would handle the detail that we were giving these mechs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did them, and we packaged them in a way that was a fair. Doing them singles didn't work out for us from a business point of view. Mm-hmm. We released them packs of 4 or 5 or occasionally 6 to make it work for us. And it was also a fair way to package it for the fans. They got the best value for what they were getting, and they responded amazingly. That was starting, back with the 2019 Kickstarter. Yep. They said, yes, that works for us. And so now we're doing the second one, and people are telling us these models, what you're doing, this works for us. But along the way, there are still people that I know that play with bottle caps with arrows on them, because at the moment, that's what they have access to, or that's what they can afford. I have a good friend who was in the military. He went to Afghanistan, I believe, Iraq, like 3 tours. And he said, sometimes I had a few mechs in my pack that I brought from home, and the rest of the time was the equivalent of bottle caps and arrows and a few pieces of paper. Because while I was there for a year, that was the only way I could enjoy BattleTech. And I got lots of my guys playing, and we did the best we could with what we had. And awesome. I could not be happier that they found a way to play BattleTech over there as a way to give them some relief from the real life military issues they were dealing with. You don't know what anyone's particular story is. Again, if they like what we're doing, if it works for them as a player, they will support us. And overall, our fan base has always supported us because they're always supporting what matters. That's BattleTech. This isn't about Cattle's Game Labs. We are the current stewards of this line. We are the fourth steward of this line. And hopefully we will be doing this for a long time to come. But when it comes down to, we love BattleTech as much as our fans do. And we want to give our fans the materials and the stories that they deserve.
I'm curious. I have a little history question for you and kind of how it's influenced on the development side. But I'm really interested about the impact of losing the unseen and then regaining the unseen recently. You kind of, if I'm getting my timeline right, you pretty much came into BattleTech right around the time where the lawsuits with Harmony Gold would have been happening. And so there's a long period there where those mechs weren't available to you guys. Certainly, even the color of the 30th anniversary art book, was a re-seen kind of Warhammer. What has it been like kind of, shepherding both, as a creator and then as a manager, as an owner of BattleTech, because those were iconic, visual units for the genre, for the IP units that a very large portion of the fan base identified with as fans. How what was that struggle like of kind of moving through a period without access to those iconic designs? How do you think it affected kind of the attachment of fans to that kind of early 2000s BattleTech, and how has that changed, and how has the access to that from lawsuit, my understanding mainly, pushed by Piranha Games and their influence on kind of bringing those back into the fold. How has that kind of helped with the resurgence and your ability to kind of reconnect with old fans?
It was frustrating. I mean, to me, obviously, it was frustrating. I mean, BattleTech started with these iconic figures that were sometimes licensed from other brands because there just wasn't a lot of mecha art back in the day. Jordan Weissman, I believe, licensed whatever it was, 13, 14, 15 designs from other people, as well as built on those as he started ramping up his own art department. I'm really glossing over this quickly, but these mechs they were where BattleTech started. Of course, there's a lot of love for them. And when we had to basically, when the decision was finally made, we don't know enough. The problem was no one really knew. All the old contracts, I don't think even existed anymore. There was a lot of we're not sure what it meant and what we bought and what they were offering. So finally someone just said, stop. These mechs are now gone. You can talk about them, you can't show them. And so that was the start of the unseen, because there was no one knew enough. And there was a lot of hard feelings, and there was a lot of potential, aggression over it. With I think it was Harmony Gold and FASA, and then Harmony Gold and whoever else, and they were just doing what they thought was good business too. I never blame them for what they did, or what they were trying to protect. They were protecting their license. We're protecting our license. That's the way it works. Yeah. But along the way, we were always looking for ways to at least bring back what we could. We keep mentioning them. We then did the Re-Scene, which was a version of them that was like with a nod toward their foundation, but not quite the real thing. Mm-hmm. Then we did a whole nother version of them, which we believe really captured the essence of those pieces with enough variation that you could see there was a difference between some of those old mechs from, it was just Harmony Gold too. It was there was like 3 or 4 companies that all owned anywhere from like 2 to 5 mechs.
Like Sunrise, I guess.
And it was just exactly. A bunch of them, but a handful of them anyway. And so at one point, I know Harmony Gold did sue Piranha and Catalyst and someone else in there too. But I've been harebrained schemes. I think, there was like 3 of us that they brought up.
I think it was Jordan specifically. It was
Jordan. They brought us to again. Just they're doing their business, and the judge looked at it and said, "No, they are acting in good faith, trying to create differentiation and create it enough that there is no brand confusion. They're not costing you sales. I mean, look at you guys. You've got best. You've got these big giant movies. They're not hurting your business. And we were obviously making good faith efforts to differentiate while not losing the history of our game, because that is part of our history. Mm-hmm. Now, would I ever go back and republish the originals? If I could arrange it, absolutely, because again, it's part of our history. Yeah. If I can make a deal with Harmony Gold or Sunrise or the other ones that are out there, that's always in the back of my head that I would love to go back and bring those back in their original glory. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we have found a way forward that our fans have said, that's really awesome. We appreciate it. That is a Warhammer, or at least, that's the modern Warhammer. We're good with that. If along the way I find a way to go back and even do more with that, we will. Because again, we never forget our history, and those mechs deserve to be seen if at all possible, when at all possible.
Definitely. And do What do you think the impact that has been on kind of the in the 2019 Kickstarter? Because that was, you mentioned the Lance packs from before, the Alpha Strike Lance packs where none of the unseen were there, and then kind of moving into this. Do you think that that was a big factor in bringing people back?
I mean, I'm sure there was some of that in there that the rescene that we did, people could get excited about them. But I think with the 2019 Kickstarter, what we learned was there were just a lot of BattleTech fans out there who were they were lapsed players, or they were only novel readers now, or they just put it aside for a while, and we were just able to re-engage them. And for some of them, maybe it was like seeing the new Warhammer, saying, "Oh yeah, I know that mech," and maybe there was some of that in there. But part of it, I think, was just a general love and a nostalgia for BattleTech, that people had missed it. And we went from we see it across the board in the sales of books and models and fiction and whatever, that people have come back by the thousands that were not playing, and now they're back to playing, or at least reading and collecting and whatever. However it is they want to engage the BattleTech universe, that's up to them, and we support them however they want to do it. But that was really, it was more about, I think, just the creating a very visible place for everyone to come back and be part of that BattleTech fandom, for whatever it was. I think it was just having that, Kickstarter had created a really amazing place that's both a marketing and a sales channel and a community. And 10, 12,000 people came flooding back for that campaign. We are about to, I believe, I just got a note, we are this close to rolling over 19,000 backers in the current campaign. That's amazing. That's the number that amazes me, that we are going to basically almost double the amount of backers from the last campaign, of active backers. That right there shows you the strength of BattleTech over a generation of players, over 40 years, 4 decades of time, that people are coming back and new people are joining in. And it really is, these last 3 years have been a renaissance for the BattleTech game. And we don't see that ending anytime soon.
And you've touched on it, off and on here, but kind of more specifically, what is the value of Kickstarter for you guys as a tool versus simply developing these products and releasing them in the line as normally? There's obviously you had mentioned the size of a Games Workshop, $2 billion and billion-dollar company that's not going to be using Kickstarter. CGL, far smaller company where Kickstarter has been a valuable tool. Do you see a point, or is there something that Kickstarter is bringing to you guys in value other than marketing that is important for you? Because I know a lot of people are like, why aren't you just releasing products? Why are you doing Kickstarter and then releasing products? Can you speak to that specifically, of why you, as the owner, the executive, made the decision to use that tool?
For the community aspects, the energy level that we get from this. Again, we're rallying the troops effectively. And there is no other way to reach out to the gamers in our industry. There's no TV channel. There's no magazine. There's no radio station. There's a few people like yourself, the influencers, the people out there who are the podcasts and the bloggers who are getting the news out there. But it doesn't give us a place to gather. I mean, we really appreciate what you guys do, because you are the voice and the face of BattleTech when it comes to getting the news out. But we need a place to rally, to come together. And Gen Con is, the conventions we go to, we get some of that. That's the only places we've had in 20 years. We treat conventions as rallying points, places to interact directly with our fan base, a small portion of our fan base. Kickstarter gives us a place very publicly to bring people in, get them excited, get them talking, get them, purchasing product, absolutely. But what we found was, like, people say, well, you're killing your market in the hobby industry. No, our market after the last Kickstarter went up by a factor of 3 to 5, depending on books, miniatures, product. Yep. We were selling 3 to 5 times more in stores following the Kickstarter than we were before. So what is the value of this? It's not about, we do not need the funds to fund the next product. We've shown over like the last few years, our cash flow is fine. We can keep funding product and just keep running it out there. Absolutely. But we wanted to, again, it's been 3 years. We wanted to rally the troops, build an even bigger base that will then, after this Kickstarter, they're going to go to their local game stores. They're going to go to their online stores. They're going to go to out to the conventions to stay involved in BattleTech. So to me, it felt about right, about every 3 years, maybe, and maybe we'll do some smaller ones in between. But it's more about the marketing channel and the community itself than it is about the pre-sales. There's just no other good way for us to interact with 18, 19,000 people at one moment. There's just no other way to do it. If there was, I'd be doing that too. Absolutely. So to me, that's what it's about.
What kind of, the company has obviously grown a lot in the last several years. We talked earlier in the conversation about kind of identifying your own weaknesses and kind of moving forward. I'm curious for you, kind of, as the head of Catalyst, what do you feel are the weaknesses of the company and the things that you want to focus on for developing that company in the next 5 to 10 years, that will have an impact on the community? Obviously, if it's manufacturing lines, that's not of interest. But in terms of maybe a customer-facing side, what are the elements of CGL that you want to improve and you want to kind of
we
provide
are
a better...
a small company of about 12 or so fanatic fans of BattleTech and Shadowrun. Mm-hmm. What we need are, and we are all wearing multiple hats. We are all putting in way more than 40-hour weeks for the most part. The number of people we find that fit in and know you can come in and really get going is tricky. What we need is staff. BattleTech right now is such a monster. We're other games are being pushed aside or pushed downstream just because BattleTech demands our attention right now. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to figure out how to do the same thing for Shadowrun. How do we relaunch Shadowrun? How do we get people, again, how do we rally the Shadowrunners? The problem with anarchists is they don't like to be rallied. So a little difficult there. But we're working on that. And we just brought in a new person to do our marketing and community development. And she has been, she's on a 6-month contract, and she's doing amazing. But she is like, can we bring in more people? Like the problem is finding them, because the ones we know are all working for other companies, for friends of ours, and we don't necessarily want to poach from friends. So finding someone who can step in and pick up the ball and run with it has been difficult. And especially when we need very specific skill sets that already know kind of like, the basics of what we need them to do. We train people where we can. We brought in people to train. That's been a hit or miss element. So what are our weaknesses? Just finding the best of what we need in staffing. And we do find them. They do eventually gravitate in, and we pull them in and we don't let them go if we can help it. Like a black hole, we suck them in and keep them here. But everyone's having a good time. We're all having a good time. We all love working on these properties. It's not about Catalyst. It's about BattleTech. It's about Shadowrun. It's about Leviathans. It's about whatever the game is we make tomorrow. Yeah. And so we just are working on identifying those people that fit into our culture and could work in a virtual company and without a lot of oversight. We don't have office hours. It's like, get your job done. Yeah. And believe it or not, that's not easy. Contract work is difficult because you have to be self-motivated. You have to be disciplined. And at the same time, you have to remain creative. And those things can fight each other. So yeah, just growing. We have to grow. We have to keep growing as a company to capitalize on the success we're having.
Well, hopefully we have several thousand, if not a couple 10 or 20,000 that'll watch this. Do you guys have job description on the website? Is there particular areas that you want to throw out there so people know if they're in the community watching that you're looking for?
We do have a corporate website, and we just redesigned our corporate website. I'm not sure if we've got our applied, what we're looking for on there right now, but we will soon. And I don't know if we've got a place to. I think there's a contact us here kind of thing. Like right now, we're working on our art director is working hard to vet people to make graphic novels based on the Kickstarter reward we just opened up. So he's vetting some people right now on line art and coloring and tech, what do they call it, lettering and all that kind of stuff. It's happening, but it's happening slowly. We are always looking for more potential graphic artists that for overflow work. We've got 2 amazing graphic artists that work with us, but we keep them just buried in work. Sometimes we just need someone to catch some overflow. My main editor is looking for some more assistance in proofreading and editing, proofreading and continuity work for the novels and the fiction line and Shrapnel. He's always looking to build that team, to keep that team fresh and for eyes on fiction. There's always something we're looking for. The biggest thing right now, probably operations and production. We certainly could use someone who is, really knows their stuff, but not just about if you know the job, you also have to be a good fit with the current team.
Yeah.
So that's where things can get tricky. But yeah, we're always looking, we're always analyzing, we're always thinking, would this person be a material gain for the company? So that's where, we're growing. We are growing so faster than we can staff up at the moment. So we're looking at we're trying to relaunch our tabletop division. Mike Ritchie was just promoted to director of tabletop, and so for doing the non-BattleTech, non-Shadowrun games that we love, like the Duke, like Wrath of Dragons, like a bunch of things we've got in the development pipeline that's just getting run over by this BattleTech Kickstarter because no one can take time to deal with it except Mike, and so he needs to find another person or two. Potentially, as he grows that division, he'll probably be looking for an assistant at some point in the next 6 to 12 months to take on workload for him. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can make that happen. Get the word out. Let's step back a little bit. I'm curious how your experience as a creator yourself and as a staff member for BattleTech has influenced kind of your management style and kind of how you approach that process and overseeing that process with your current staff.
Yeah. So it's been both a strength of Catalyst and also kind of a curse because Randall and I are both creative people. We came up writing source books and me writing source books and novels, and Randall's been a novelist, and we love being involved in the creative side. The problem is we also have to be put on our business hats and do what's right as a business. And the more I've done with that, the less creative work I've gotten to do. I'm not writing as much fiction and source books as I did, right? Because Catalyst just, all the management sucks away that energy level a lot. I'm writing a book right now with my first novel I'm writing in a long time with Mike Stackpole. We're doing a collaboration for Den of Wolves, the founding of the Dragoons. It's almost done. But it's been difficult because the company gets in the way. So it's a little. Sometimes I look at it and go, oh, I'm kind of sad I don't write as much fiction as I used to. I can't be involved in the story. Now I'm still involved in planning and plotting out the big 3 and 5 year campaigns and where the novels are going, but not being part of the actual novelist team sometimes is difficult. And John Helfers, bless him, he keeps nagging me to come back and write fiction. Randall Bills is currently blackmailing me to write a new Avanti's Angels short story or novella, and he's using everything he can do to make sure I get that written. John.
But is he saying I'll do your job for 2 months?
No, he's saying if you don't do this, then you don't get this really cool thing I invented for you. Here's the Avanti's Angels T-shirt, which I'm not sending you until you write your story. He's being really mean. John Helfers has held a novel for me in the next couple of years. We've got the novel line plan. He's got a novel he wants me to write as part of the current Uber plot, which may have something to do with the Giovanni family and events going on back in Sky. So, there's things going on, and I do miss it. I miss it a lot. But running Catalyst has also been a creative endeavor. It's like the world's best resource management game. Just building a company and trying to keep juggling the personalities and the people and the plot lines and the intellectual property. It's a lot, and it's been fulfilling, and it's been an amazing way to give back to a universe that's given so much to me and my family and my staff. And we've all grown up inside of FASA, FanPro, the BattleTech and Shadowrun universes. To keep doing that it's a blessing. And so, however way right now, this is the way I interact with BattleTech and Shadowrun is as the publisher. And maybe in the future I can slip back and put on my creative hat again and have some fun with there, but publisher first.
I'm curious, are there any products that you guys put out that you think just kind of don't get enough attention, or you think are a little bit better than the community really appreciates or understands or has insight into?
We're talking BattleTech specifically?
Yeah.
Products we put out that the fans have not really seen the value of. No, because I really do believe that the fans are voting with their wallets, and if we put out a product called, and I'm gonna get the name wrong. So Randall, I apologize ahead of time. Was it the retaliation packs? It was reinforcements. It was a box of battle mechs, of standees. Mm-hmm. We're like, hey, plastics are awesome, but we can only make so many plastics. So everyone's saying more mechs, more mechs, more mechs. We're like, yeah. We've got a team working as fast as they can every week, every month, putting out as mechs as fast as possible. We cannot make more at this point without creating another team of sculptors, imagers, whatever we need. And we've been trying, that hasn't worked out for us yet. So we created a product called Reinforcements, which was, while you're waiting for the plastics, here's some awesome full color mechs you can put on a standee and have more stuff on the board. And the fans went, nope, not interested. It's plastic. It's plastics or nothing now. Thank you. You guys have done too good with plastic. So, it means they've told us we've done such a good job with the new 3D models. That's all they want now. That the product just went out there and went, and it sold a little here and there where it's selling, but it just told us there's no market at this time for 2D mech standees. There's no market at this moment. Now that could change as people come in, and maybe more people just want to get a collection of, a battalion collection going. They don't have time to wait for plastics, but right now that's where the market is. So do I blame the fans for not understanding the product? No. We thought it would be useful. They said not so much. So we move on. So for BattleTech, really, and we did the neoprene. We made the first battle mat. We weren't sure if it was going to be a success or not. We're like, well, let's do some neoprene double-sized maps and see what happens. And the fans went, yes, please, more. Great. So we are now, that's a line. So it's just not fair to say the fans don't get it. They get it. Mm-hmm. They look at it and go, that's not for me. Again, if they're playing with bottle caps, then it's up to me to change their mind.
I'm also a big fan of the battle maps, which leads me to a question I jotted. What is the development process for a map? How do you go about creating a map that works for gameplay? Is it just
the first thing we do is we lock Brent Evans in a cage so he can't escape. Because what we need is art, and he only had at the time one artist that we liked who was doing the 3-dimensional maps in a style that we really wanted for the battle maps and for the new map packs. I think he now has as many as 2. And people, we've looked at others, and they're not that they're not good. It's just that they don't fit our current style or aesthetic that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we lock Brent in a cage and make him really go to his artist or artists and say, I need more maps now. And we keep them pretty busy. And when our map artist took 3 months off to go work for someone else for 3 months, we were dying. We're like, please come back. And she's wonderful. She does great work. And I know she got another offer and just did work for them. Then she came back and did work for us, and she'll move around. But so that's the big part, is just getting the art in. Now that also it means Brent and I think sometimes Rand, others, they'll sit down and play with just a white piece of paper. Okay, level 1, level 2, level 0, water, mount, whatever, rubble. They start by, while they're drawing, they start by going white piece of paper. What are just the mechanics of the map? And I am so not getting near that, because I look at that and go, oh, my head hurts.
Yeah.
Brent really oversees, not just the art. He oversees almost the entire process of map creation, both paper and neoprene, and does not get enough recognition for it, because without him championing that, it just wouldn't have happened. And then he wrangles his artists, and then they get it all laid out, and then we do the map packs followed by the neoprene sets. And I think right now we're working on a Savannah pack and an urban city pack in the current Kickstarter. And we're looking at branching out the city ones to do like capitals, like, the Davian, New Avalon capital city, the Forbidden Palace map, the Steiner Triad map. And we don't know if that's going to work. Like, can you show the capital city in enough detail to appreciate it is the Davian capital or the Steiner, or does it look like just a cluster of buildings in the corner? I'm like, we're working on that. But it really is it's Brent Evans is really where maps live and die. Absolutely. And then Randall and I think Bryn and a few others assist him in getting it done. And there's some beautiful artists who I don't know their names. I wish I did. I'd love to give them a shout out. I can't remember the two artists he's been using, especially the primary one. She has been amazing. But if you get a chance to interview Brent, I'm sure he'll give them plenty of love.
Definitely. I'll reach out to Brent. I have a question, kind of a series of questions on behalf of creators like myself in the community or others that kind of, are more artists or animators. What I've experienced kind of as a creator in the community and kind of witnessing other people, there's a lot of kind of a reticence to really kind of spread a lot of people's wings in terms of their creativity and what they're sharing for the side of legality and in terms of what's okay and what's not okay. And I wanted to take advantage of kind of having you here to maybe kind of clarify for those of us in the community that love BattleTech and want to create, in terms of making it very clear of what people can and can't do. I know I've seen a lot of creators that don't do things that I know for a fact that they could do that weren't a problem, and then others that, kind of step over the line, and I tend to not interact as much with those. But and I can ask some specific questions, specific types of things, certainly in terms of creating fan art, and artists that are out there creating fan art and may want to sell prints of their fan art or make t-shirts of their fan art. I know for me, there's things that I've created. I just never use trademark terms. It's like, here's a Renegade HPG site. Here's here's something. Here's a sticker that I've created with a mecha that I've created, and you can think it looks like whatever you want it think it looks like, but I'm not going to call it anything. What can you kind of lay out what people should feel free to do and explore with their creativity and contributions to the IP in the universe, and where to tread softly?
I will try. The problem is it is definitely the old slippery slope thing. There is a point. So fandom can do whatever it really wants to do as part of fandom. To my knowledge of copyright law and trademark law, fandom can do whatever they want. As long as it's a fan project. Fan project means by definition not commercial, not professional, not commercial. So if someone draws up, hey, here's my mech, and they post it online, am I going to send them a takedown notice? Almost certainly no, and I don't think Topps will either. It has to rise to a level of where it basically starts infringing on the copyright, which was where it starts infringing on the ability to earn, again, back to commercial elements. Most copyright law is protecting of the commercial element. So if you draw a mech, great. If you put it on your own t-shirt and wear it, okay. If you post it online, all right. If you start 3D printing battle mechs and selling them on Etsy, that's where you probably crossed a line. There are more, effectively at that point. I mean, I know you're a fan. People are fans. They love the BattleTech universe. They think they're showing the love of the fandom, and they are. At the same time, it also makes copyright protection difficult, because if you are required by law, we are required to defend copyrights and trademarks. If we don't defend them, then they become public domain, and then we lose control, and then there's nothing left to create. It collapses. So it's just, where do we draw the line? When we see it, we have to respond, send a letter, ask, do whatever we need to do. If you are charging money, it's no longer a fan project by definition. You are now entered commercial, professional. The definition of professional is usually earning compensation for what you did, the work you did. Again, there are exceptions. There are exceptions to that, but I don't know them all. For instance, like what you do, you are, as a commenter on the IP, that is creating original content that does not infringe upon our content. So that's something that we don't worry about. Other people that do this kind of stuff even fan art galleries is usually okay. If they take donations, generic donations to keep their fan art gallery going, it's probably okay. And this is where I am not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. I don't pretend to be one in the BattleTech universe. Just at some point you cross a line, that slippery slope, you cross a line, and we are required by law to take, and by our license with Topps, we are required to take action. It's not that we don't think you're a good fan because you're doing this. We know you're a great fan. That's why you do it. But there's just no easy way to say, here's the exact rule. We know it when we see it, or when Topps tells us, please make that stop. Patreon is a slippery slope. It can get tricky depending on what you're doing, what you're offering through Patreon. Etsy is almost certainly, if you're selling stuff on Etsy or eBay, it's almost certainly copyright infringement and an issue. But we can't get to everybody. I mean, there's certain places like, I want to say like Cafe Press or whatever their name is, that they see nothing wrong with just grabbing our logos, throwing them mugs, t-shirts. Hey, we're just selling mugs and t-shirts. Like, yes, but you're doing it without licensing, without copyright protection, without, it's illegal. It's piracy. It's theft.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of people are in other countries, or they find ways to protect themselves. And, you might think that that's just increasing the fandom. But at some point, if it got out of control and it were to collapse, then BattleTech, there wouldn't be new BattleTech product, except for what some guy's doing on their local 3D printer, which means it may be good, it may not.
Right.
The whole point of copyright is to protect it so that the owners can deliver a quality product for a fair price that engenders more creativity. So, yeah, fans, be creative. Share your love of BattleTech. Just don't think you can, if you charge money for it, understand you have left fandom behind, and it's now a commercial venture. That's like the kind of the line where you can cross the line to a point where we may have to say something someday.
Well, if I can kind of extrapolate from that and kind of address some specific concerns that have been shared with me, something like Hired Steel or any of kind of DC Bruins animations creating that and sharing it on YouTube where anyone can watch it, there's no copyright infringement to that. It would only be if you said you have to pay us in order to watch this.
I don't know how that. I mean, so now you're talking about a whole new thing. Like you're talking like video animation or cartoon or other art, and you're talking a commercial platform like YouTube or something that gets even trickier. And that's at a level of copyright law I know nothing about because I've worked in the paper tabletop area. That's something that like Tops, Fanatics, Tornante Studios, that's all their area of expertise. I don't know how that works. I don't know at what point have you crossed the line. So I'm just like saying, whoever's doing that, I just don't know if what you're doing is fandom or crosses the line. I don't know. I would suspect though it comes down to, is someone somewhere making money? Like again, back to because it's all about commercial ad revenue. Mm-hmm. If someone somewhere is making money and Tops, the owner of the product, isn't getting their royalty, it's probably illegal. But I have to say probably and maybes because it's very tricky law, and I'm not a lawyer. So I know it when I see it, and I stop it when I have to.
Definitely. And for YouTube, like there's always an option to monetize content and not monetize, and so usually I just say don't monetize your content. And
it all depends.
Share it for free. For artists, I've seen, there are artists out there, both unofficial or unofficial that will sell prints or sell T-shirts with their own art, and they're not necessarily official art. They might include official art. Is there? Certainly, if it's an official art, they would need your blessing to be able to do that. If it's not official art and it's their original and I think it's like what 20% rule different from whatever a design may be. Can artists do that? If not, is there a way for them to reach out to you guys to get like a mini license to say, hey, you get 10-15% of.
So again, we're back to it's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had a great answer.
Yeah.
Are you calling it BattleTech? Are you calling it a battle mech, a MechWarrior? Are you doing it and kind of like hinting that, hey, here's BattleTech, but I'm not going to call it that. Mm-hmm. It just, there's so many ways to look at this and try to figure it out.
Yeah.
What is the intention? You're back to intent. Is it your intent to make a commercial product that is really a BattleTech product in disguise? Then you're probably crossed the line. If it's just you're a mecha, you love mecha, and you're putting up mecha stuff out there as like, hey, here's my mecha stuff, and you're not mentioning, I'm a huge BattleTech fan, here's my mech. Okay, I mean, again, it comes back to presentation, your intent, how commercial is it? If you're a patron artist saying, hi, I'm an artist who draws mecha stuff. If you like what you see, here's you can support my Patreon here.
Yeah.
You're probably okay. If you're saying, hi, I'm an artist. If you support $25 at my Patreon, I'll send you a battle mech.
Right.
Now you probably, again, you're moving into that commercial element directly. Your intent is to profit on BattleTech. And again, it's not my rules, it's my license, it's copyright law, and it's extremely gray area. And we just do what we can to keep the product safe so we can keep making BattleTech product for fans for years to come.
Right.
So I really wish I could say, here's the bright line. And no, we can't give out 1,000 sub licenses. Every sub license we do has to go to Tops and be reviewed by lawyers, and they have minimum hourly rates and craziness. Right. And, there's just no necessarily good way to do it that we have found yet. But we keep looking, and we're playing right now. We're working now with this idea of on drive-thru. We're doing what's called Hollow Streets, which is kind of like a community developed product area where you can go and do Shadowrun stuff but it's a closed community. It's on one platform. Everyone agrees to the same rules. All the copyrights are obeyed. Tops gets their royalty. So yeah, that stuff, there's stuff we are working at and looking at maybe for BattleTech next. We're just trying to figure it out. And we appreciate when we have to contact people, we just appreciate if they just are just calm about it. Like, we're not trying to be mean. We're not saying you're not a fan. We're just saying that for whatever reason, we need to ask you to modify some portion so that we can keep everything neat and clean.
I think that's an important thing too, is I think a lot of people out there that have talked to me, they think that they're going to get a letter and they're saying you're getting sued for $1 million for doing this. I think they realize that. And I encourage them, look, if you think you're doing it right in good faith, do it. And if you're not, they'll tell you and then you stop. They're not going to be like, give us your house because you made them a mistake. It's just communicate.
Generally, the worst thing we do is we send what's called a cease and desist letter saying, hi, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but what you're doing is crossing a line. We would appreciate you not doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. We would say, please do not do this.
Yeah.
We don't make threats. We do not sue for money. If someone is egregious about it, we may go to whoever hosts us. Hey, this person is pirating and stealing copyright on your platform. You have now been informed. You are now complicit, and that person may then, their account is gone. But they'll just go to another site, and they'll just go there. It's like whack-a-mole. It really is. The people who are egregious, the actual true pirates out there doing egregious theft, it's whack-a-mole. We have to, by law, to show that we have done due diligence in attempting to protect the brand. We're not here to hurt a fan who's just having a good time and didn't realize where the line was. That's not what we're here for.
Definitely.
So that they might get an email, they might get a letter. Usually we start with an email saying, hey, please don't. If they don't respond, we send an official letter. Really, really, please don't. That's what we tend to do.
Thank you. If we can kind of pull on that, I'm going to kind of, if I can ask you, approach another difficult topic that will require your CEO hat kind of firmly pulled down. For me, Renegade HPG is based on communication, and, celebrating the kind of community. And so being a part of the community and observing the community is a part of this. And, there's elements that I've seen in terms of community, and I think this is true of all communities, of animosity between parts. And there have been issues that have come up that I've seen, both involving catalysts, both not involving catalysts, that can kind of concern me. And I'd like to ask you, some questions, kind of get perspective on that. The first one kind of
the worst I can do is tell you we can't answer, but give it a shot.
That's all. That's fine. The first one, last year there was a big row when Blaine published on his blog about his departure from Catalyst.
Yeah,
there was a lot. I mean, I got blowback just for asking how people felt about it. But my concern in terms of reaching out to community was just to get a sense of kind of what people felt. Because again, I want to know what people are thinking. This platform is based on communication. So Blaine put out a lot of information out there. I think that's very much Blaine's perspective. I think it's kind of, shaded by his personal experience, which is not saying it's not true. It's just a perspective. Sure. And Catalyst had a relatively small post that it posted on its Facebook to kind of addressing that. And I think, and I had reached out to you personally about this at the time, kind of based on my concern, and offering help in terms of communicating. And, on that vein, I wanted to try to kind of maybe allow people to see more of CGL's side of that. And particularly kind of in your statement, you had said, and I'll quote here, so you had, I highlighted. So primarily due to Mr. Pardo's online activities, which do not align with Catalyst publishing vision. And so for me reading that was a little ambiguous, a little bit more than, I would have wanted it to be ambiguous. Can you specify what of Blaine's online activities were the issue and what is Catalyst publishing vision? And
I will not
give a little bit of that.
I will not. So the reason why it is very general and generic, because we're not going to get into there's politics involved with some of our fans. It's about politics. Some it's about a genuine love for Blaine's work. Some it's about a whole nother. Some it's just about the argument. They like being involved in the argument.
Yeah, I call it recreational outrage. It's a very
exactly.
It's a very boring hobby. But
we are not going to get involved in the politics or the level of that, because it's really not conducive to the strength of BattleTech. And again, we've said before, we wish Blaine well with his career.
mm-hmm.
We are not going to get involved in nitpicking everything he says out there online.
Mm-hmm.
Could we? Sure. Are we going to do that? No. First of all, there's just no winning those kind of arguments
Mm-hmm.
on either side. And I will say Blaine had a legit, he had a legitimate grievance. Something was sent to Blaine that he had a legitimate grievance for. So I even called up and said, "Hey, I apologize. This shouldn't have happened. It was unprofessional." And Blaine knows what that is, and that's all. That's all that mattered. And I didn't care. Blaine, and I think Blaine even put out there and say, "Hey, Catalyst called and apologized for this," because I felt he was due that for as a professional.
Yep.
The other stuff that really caused the issue is just should not be the concern of the BattleTech fan. Unless it's just about a true love of Blaine's writing, in which case I understand why you're upset that Blaine is currently not being publishing new works by Catalyst. We didn't pull down his old works. We didn't put a warning label on them. We are not trying to stop Blaine from talking about his experience as a BattleTech author and all the stuff he's done. He's been a big part of the universe, and I've known him a long time. We've been friends and peers for a long time, and I hope at some point that Blaine and I can sit down and talk more about this. But that's between Catalyst and Blaine, and I will not fight that in public.
Mm-hmm.
I will not do anything that I feel could hamper Blaine's existing career. He's a great writer. And he deserves to just be able to write his material and have it judged on its merits for what he's doing now. Because it's not a currently good fit with us, should not be an issue. Blaine has every right to write what he wants. We have every right to publish what we want. And if there's some discontinuity at the moment, then we choose whether or not to publish it. That should just be an accepted part of being a publishing business.
Right.
But Blaine has nothing but, again, I hope he does well in his career. I have nothing personal that I want to speak out against him. I hope he does well with his new book line. But it's, there's just things right now that we would need to work out. But that's between Blaine and Catalyst and not really between anybody else.
Yeah, and I understood, and I didn't want to give an impression that I, was trying to kind of settle things between Blaine and you guys.
No, you held it. You asked it just perfectly. You really kind of put it out there exactly the way I think you should have. And it's a fair question, but it also means it's just in order to really get into it, it'd come back to a debate.
Yeah,
and getting into either the politics and or the what we believe is what the view of what we want to do for as publishers, and in the end it just distracts from what is going on, which is we love BattleTech. I know Blaine loves BattleTech, and I'm not saying he doesn't, and I'm not saying any fan doesn't. We are doing what we believe is the best thing in consultation with our license holder. We are doing the best thing we know what to do at this time, and that's where it's got to end, because otherwise it distracts from what's important. The new, the miniatures, the Kickstarter, the new books, the renaissance BattleTech is having. That's what's important. We're here because we love BattleTech, and that's true with every single person that works for Catalyst. Even those that were involved in Shadowrun, they still love BattleTech, or they wouldn't be part of this company. And same with everyone at BattleTech loves Shadowrun, or they wouldn't be part of this company. Yeah. That's just the way it has to be.
Yeah, and I understand. And I kind of reject. People have tried to give me a call out of side or what side I'm on, whatever on earth that means. But I think my biggest thing that I've seen that sort of resonates is people afraid of being silenced, and in Blaine's particular situation of a group that disagreed with him trying to silence his voice, and other people internalizing that in themselves, and a fear of that from from any kind of corporation that they're supporting. And so my intent was trying to get to that, and and dropping names of, I know the Rommel was dropped. I mean, my biggest concern with the Rommel is how utterly terrifying it was in Crescent House Revenge, and how it made my life horrible playing it. But is my sole connection to that tank. But it kind of resonated, a sense of trying to kind of brush away historical things. And I know a lot of people in BattleTech are, history is a big part of their experience in life, and there's big people that don't like erasing history, as dirty as it may be, and so concerns in how they relate. But honestly, my biggest concern has been through vitriol in the community, directed at creators for talking to people. And so, a rejection of the experiences that Tex and his team have gone through, for simply sitting down and having a conversation, actually a very wholesome conversation, with an admittedly very,
I love politics and
so,
spectator sport. I love politics and spectator sport. I love debate. I love sitting down, having a good argument.
Mm-hmm.
But when it interferes with the development and creation and sale of new product and the publisher, our job is to back away. Our job is to protect BattleTech itself, and to do that, our job is to remain focused on what is best for BattleTech. And yes, I agree with you. The people out there who are being hounded on both sides of whatever argument you want to pick. And there's several out there. Whatever argument you want to pick. People who are hounded on either side, the fandom is doing them a disservice.
I agree.
Because if they are true just fans of the universe, just acknowledge that and choose to move on. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has can have their say. They can get out. Everyone has a platform. We're not silencing Wayne. He has a blog. He has emails. He's got publications. He has his own novels. Because we are choosing not to give him our microphone at the moment, does not silence Blaine's voice out there. You can find out what Blaine thinks anytime you want to, and that's his right, and he has that right. Okay, I just don't want to get involved. People want to make it about us versus them. With us versus Blaine, or us versus someone else, or someone else versus Tex. That's not what we're going to do. My advice is just, everyone, please, just calm down. Acknowledge that where we all agree that we love BattleTech is where we should stay, and let's just move on and enjoy BattleTech. And if they can't do that, then I'm not going to engage with them, because that is just picking a fight with no end.
I agree. And I think, and I appreciate that, Loren. I know it's a difficult subject, but I think that's ultimately what I wanted when I was seeking, is just for CGL, for you to say, and CGL is like, look, this is not our fight. We're producing a great product, and we hope you enjoy that product. And for me, it's been disappointing to see the community go after each other. I mean, for me, I'll listen to anything on the internet. It's the internet after all. But if I see two people going after each other personally, you're blocked. If you're kind of a one note person, you're probably muted. I might still kind of watch what you're doing. But that's my take, is that we're here to celebrate a universe.
There may be 100 or 1,000 BattleTech communities out there. There is a BattleTech community for you. Just because you're a BattleTech fan does not mean you have to be a fan of every BattleTech community and how it's run, or what their point of view is. Find the one that works for you. But if you are making a point to attack other BattleTech, if your community is about attacking other communities in BattleTech, why? What do you get from that? That's I'm with you. If I see people like that are going at each other, I just shake my head, but I'm not going to jump in the middle of this, and because that's just doesn't serve anybody. I have a very large micro, and it'd be almost unfair. I have a very large microphone. I could use it. I could use it for what I think is for a good reason, and I could end up hurting someone I didn't mean to hurt. We are very, very careful trying not to do that. So just go back to, guys, we all can agree that BattleTech is awesome. Let's start there. And if we can dial down the rhetoric, dial down the anger, and maybe we can all get back to just what we love.
I appreciate that, especially about the big mic, and that's part of why I I try to keep my personal opinion out of Renegade HPG because that's not what I presented this channel as, and it is a platform. I think it's a small platform. I think to other people it's a bigger platform. But for the same reason, when I was a coach and I would have, high school boy try to challenge me, I wouldn't smack him down in front of his peers, as a former elite athlete, because you don't punch down. And
exactly.
So, and I appreciate
you don't.
that. Yeah. Well, I don't want to end on that note.
Thank you. No, it was I mean, obviously that's out there and it's a serious question, and that's the best answer I can give you. I'm not avoiding the question. I'm just avoiding the vitriol that's out there, because that's not going to serve BattleTech. So thank you for asking, and thank you for taking, my very cautious answer for what it is, which is just a return to what it is I'm supposed to do, which is promote BattleTech until Tops tells me to no longer do so.
Definitely. And we'll enjoy that. I'll enjoy that as a fan.
All right.
As a fan, we have a big Kickstarter. There's things that I'm excited about. What are you most excited about in the product line? What do you say that you're like, oh man, I really wish I had more time to play with this?
For the Kickstarter, so what the Kickstarter's doing, you mean? Or just
I mean, you can't really share anything maybe you haven't announced yet, but in general, like what is about kind of BattleTech, you as the Loren Coleman, naval, officer, I don't know if you're officer, but enlisted in the Navy and joined BattleTech with your friends. Man, I wish I had this when I was that person. What is it that is just super cool and exciting for you?
It's just, again, we're back to, if I had to pick the one thing I just wish I had more time for, it would be the fiction, because that's where I came in, and that was my, in the end, that's my love. My first love is writing fiction. I also love being a publisher, but I would love to be more involved in the stories and writing a bit more. And there is a plan. I am writing a book with Mike Stackpole. Randall Bills is blackmailing me to do another Avanti's Angels, at least a short story. John Helfers is pushing me to do a book. I do intend to go back to doing some more writing here in the future. But that's what I miss the most, being involved in there. Writing the FedCom Civil War trilogy may have been the most satisfying thing I've ever done in BattleTech, because Mike Stackpole had stepped aside for a few years, and I got to write the 3 core umbrella novels that basically brought BattleTech to a close of an era, but then at the very end opened a door to the possibility of a new era, when we didn't know if that was going to happen. When we didn't know for sure what would happen after Facet closes doors. Endgame was potentially the definitive close of the BattleTech storyline. But then there's that one little hint of that one thing that Victor found in the epilogue, that says maybe there's a future. And we found out that there was, which is, there's a great future for BattleTech going on. But at that time we didn't know. But that was, to me, very fulfilling. Those 3 books were, to me, the peak of my BattleTech writing career. Is there more to come from me? Yes, I think there are. I think there definitely will be. Other things that we're doing that BattleTech's allowing us to do is just explore what the game actually is. Because now there's BattleTech and there's Alpha Strike. They're both BattleTech universe, but they are different. There's the miniature, there's the hexagon, the hex board play, and then there's the open miniatures play. Is there other ways to play BattleTech? Sure. There's the card game. There's especially as a card game. There's the old Succession Wars game we could resurrect. There is the new Encounters BattleTech game, which we just announced as an add-on to the Kickstarter, which is a push your luck dice rolling game using the BattleTech brand. There is nothing BattleTech. There's no avenue, no part of the game industry that BattleTech cannot march its way into and establish a beachhead. It's just the universe is too big, it's too well developed, and as military science fiction has shown, there's nowhere it can't go. So it just comes down to finding the next place BattleTech can storm, and then go there and have fun with it. And then meanwhile, keep the miniatures game, both BattleTech and Alpha Strike, keep them going.
Yeah.
And look at other ways to have fun, other ways to bring this to our fan base. Eventually, now we're doing some graphic novels. That's new for us.
Yeah.
And there were like 2 or 3 comic books that were done back in the day, but to my knowledge, this is the first full graphic novel set. So that's new. We'll look for other ways to expand and play. And that's all based on not just the success of the Kickstarters, but what that does in the overall market. Because in the 3 years in between the Kickstarters, the BattleTech hobby market has just exploded. And that gives us the ability to branch out and try new things. And some of them we've tried they've not done great. They've done okay. And okay, that was it. Move on. Some of them we just now are just starting to look at and see what they'll do. Shrapnel was a huge success for us. That just kind of sprung out of the last Kickstarter and is still going today, 3 years later. And it's not going to shut. It's going to keep marching forward. Will the graphic novels be this the time? Maybe. We'll see. So this is what's exciting, is that there is just no end to what we could do as long as we've got the time and the staff to do it.
The people.
Yeah. So that's what's exciting.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. Loren, I really appreciate the time that you've taken to sit down and talk with me and the fandom here, and we appreciate your work and pushing the IP forward and giving us these cool miniatures.
Well, thanks for everything you do to keep the news out there, to keep people informed, and just to keep them. Again, we're back to the work that you guys do. The influencers and the bloggers and the podcasts and the stuff you guys do is critical to keeping the brand fresh and alive. So when we call for to rally the troops, there are troops to rally. So we appreciate what you guys do, and you can call us anytime. And you should reach out to Brent or Randall. Get them on if you haven't had them recently. Get them in here, and they deserve the chance to talk up some of their people, because we've got contractors and writers and artists who deserve some love on the podcast and stuff, because they are the heart and soul of BattleTech that give the fans what they want. So we want to keep promoting them as much as possible.
Well, I'll definitely do that. I'll use you to kind of give them a nudge, because I've emailed both that haven't gotten responses yet. So I'm going to send it to you, and I'm going to say, Loren, give them a little elbow next time you see them.
I'll drop them both an email to say I'll look in their email box and go and then go talk to you.
Awesome. I look forward to it. I look forward to sharing that with everyone. Thank you, Loren. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's Travis signing.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
successful. Proceed to dust-off zone for extraction. Sensors indicate friendly dropship has entered atmosphere. ETA dropship, 1 minute. Shutdown sequence initiated.